Final picks and DFS strategy for UFC 321. As always, you can call me Kunith. Let's make some money this week. Real quick, if you haven't already, go back and watch the predictions video from earlier in the week. That'll be linked in the description and in a pinned comment. That's a full card breakdown. You'll know why we say the things we say as we're going through the video. This will be a bit different. We're looking at Draftkings. We're going to build some lineups, talk about some value plays, what you need to do to be successful on this slate, all that good stuff. So let's go. Starting with your value plays. So these are going to be plays. I'm just finding this now. I'm finding out about this now. That hurts. That hoits. Not a big deal. Still got 13 fights to work with. But anyway, we're looking at value plays. These are plays at 8,000 and below. Draftkings dogs that you need to make your salary work. Now, there are a couple here. One fight, though, I want to mention is just kind of an honorable mention. You have Quillan Salkilld, Nasrat Haqparast priced at the same amount. The 8,100. Very rare. For Quillan Salkilld, he's getting his takedowns. He's getting some control time. And the thing about the takedowns and control, if you understand how Draftkings scoring works, which if you're watching this video, you probably do, but if you don't, takedowns, control, grappling, that's the most heavily rewarded fighting style when it comes to Draftkings scoring, because a takedown is 5 points. You're getting points every second that you're in a dominant position of control, and just being in a dominant position on the mat opens up opportunities to land some offense. You get those significant strike numbers, as well as finishing the fight. So if you have somebody who's spamming takedowns, and you have Quillan Salkilld, doesn't have great control, but he gets guys down to the mat often, those volume takedowns, you love that. So you got to consider Quillan Salkilld. You also have to consider Nasrat Haqparast. He's not breaking 100 Draftkings points consistently, but that output is something that you can always rely on. You know you're going to get a lot of strikes coming from Nasrat Haqparast over 3 rounds. Now, if you watch the predictions video, you know I prefer the Haqparast side to win. I will say, though, for DK scoring, with the way that it shakes out, I don't think he's a great value play. Reason being, because I'm going to take him out now that I'm thinking about it, because if Quillan Salkilld, let's say it's a competitive fight, Quillan Salkilld ends up getting 3 or 4 takedowns here. Well, while he's getting these takedowns, while he's in top, or while Nasrat Haqparast is just defending takedowns, Haqparast isn't landing that offense of his own. So if he's not going to finish this fight, which I don't think is very likely, Salkild's very tough and he's going to be making this guy work anyway. He's probably not going to finish the fight. He's not going to look for takedowns of his own here. I don't think he's going to get knockdowns either. He's more of death by 1,000 cuts rather than just that thudding knockdown, knockout power. So if anything, I do think that Quillan Salkild's a much better DFS play. Again, I personally prefer the Nasrat Haqparast side, but I think Quillan Salkilld is the better DFS play. So if you wanted to kind of offset it, what you could do, since the odds are so close, is you could take a money line bet on Nasrat Haqparast and then put Quillan Salkilld in a DFS lineup. That way you can kind of offset your entry a little bit because you're getting near even money on Haqparast at the book. So that would make sense. But Quillan Salkilld first value play. Going down the list, you'll see Alexander Rakic there at 7,900. Rakic is going to win the fight, in my opinion. Taller, longer, younger, more active rear leg, fighting out of that open stance against the guy who's been getting some soft matchmaking along the way. I think Rakic is going to look great this week. But is he going to finish the fight? I don't know. I think you're looking for an early knockout with Alexander Rakic to win, and he just hasn't really done that in years, right? So against a guy who's undefeated, a guy who's tough, a guy who he's going to have to show a lot of respect to early, I don't love it from a DFS standpoint. So while I think Rakic wins, he's not a preferred DFS play. Nathaniel Wood, however, is. I think Nathaniel Wood can give you a lot of good things the later this fight goes. I like the low kicks. I like the teep to the body. I like the hand speed as well. I think the takedown upside is there. He's going to have to weather an early storm from Jose Delgado because Jose Delgado is a supernova in that opening round and guys really haven't been able to stop him. But I think if Nathaniel Wood extends him, he could come up with a late finish here or just put a lot of volume out there late second throughout the 3rd round and win on the cards, maybe not scoring a ton of points, but giving you a decent score at 7,700. So I like the upside from Nathaniel Wood. Virna Jandiroba, I don't really trust her over 5 rounds against somebody who can hang with her on the mat. Volkov, I'm very worried about this week. I think Jailton Almeida runs through him. Jun Park, somebody I really like for DFS this week at 7,200. Doesn't matter how much he scores. And I do think that we might be on gas watch here with Ikram Aliskerov. So I think Jun Park just just being that grinder, that steady pressure. I think that's going to get to Aliskerov if he doesn't get chinned in the first 3 minutes. And I would say the last value play that I would consider playing this week would be Mitch Raposo at 7,000. I know he's a big underdog. I know Azamat should win, but I think Mitch Raposo with that takedown upside just gives you a little bit that these other people don't down here. We're definitely not playing Chris Barnett. I don't care who he's fighting. Ciryl Gane's really up against it this week against Tom Aspinall. I think he gets destroyed. Mizuki, I'm not all that interested in, although I do think she goes 3 rounds. I think she's more of a potential cash game play. And Mario Bautista, he's too good to be priced to this low, but his opponent is a little bit too much for him, in my opinion. But if he wins at 6,600, he breaks the slate. But this is probably where we land here. And now that I'm thinking about it, we might just have to put Rakic in here. Might have to have Rakic in value play consideration, because with the way the card shakes out, especially if it's consistent with my predictions from earlier in the week, I think we get a lot of decisions here. And that's the compelling thing about DFS, is that it's always something different. It's always fresh. Now they threw a wrench into this with the Al-Selwady Camilo fight getting taken away for whatever reason. I don't even know why yet. We'll start building some lineups in a second, and I'm going to go over kind of why I think the results this week are going to be a bit different. This is super compelling. I'm going to go over, it's an interesting card, and the way you approach it is going to be a lot different than, like, say, last week. Let's do it. Let's start building some cash game lineups. Before we do, though, like the video, subscribe, comment. You know how it works. For your cash games, I don't think you can go wrong with stacking the co-main event this week. It's going to be a popular strategy for cash, but it just makes sense. And we talked last week about how double punting is probably the best way to approach these cash games, but I feel like on a card like this, you might want to do something like this, where you have this 5 rounds. Women's MMA tends to go the distance. Even if it gets extended, you're getting takedowns on one side, reversals on the other that count just as much as takedowns do for DK scoring. You gotta stack the co-main and cash this week. And for those of you that don't know, if you're watching, you probably know, but for those of you that don't, your cash games are not your big tournaments where you're trying to win $100,000. They're double ups, 50-50s, head-to-heads, where you're doubling your entry. So you put 50 bucks in, you're hoping to win 50 bucks. You build those differently. What we're trying to do is capture the safest scoring floor possible. We're not trying to win all the money. We're not trying to have the highest score possible. We just need to develop the safest scoring floor. So stacking a fight guarantees you a winner. And when you have 5 rounds to work, you're going to get one of the higher scoring losers on the card. So that's why we stack the co-main event. Now we're going to look at a punt play. I think that it's obvious. The punt play's got to be Mario Bautista all the way at 6,600. Mario Bautista is not the kind of guy to really get put away. He got knocked out by 5-star Jones, one of the bigger flukes of all time. And then he got submitted by Corey Anderson. There's levels to this! There's levels! Corey Sandhagen in his UFC debut, but I think Mario Bautista is going to show a lot of respect to the grappling of Umar. I think he's going to try to disrespect Umar's striking, even though that doesn't typically work for people, but that's the only way Mario Bautista wins. I think he understands in the environment that he's fighting in, because we know where they're at. He needs a knockout to win this fight. A close round is not going to go his way at all. So he needs to press the issue. He needs to look for a knockout. He needs to throw a lot of volume. He did that last time out. Even if he loses a decision here, scores you 30 DraftKings points, down at 6,600, you can't beat that. And it's all part of the plan. It's all part of getting that safe scoring floor, because now we've got 9,066 left over per fighter, so we can come up here and grab some of these more expensive pieces. 8,800 for Jailton Almeida feels like a steal. You have 9,200 left over per fighter. You can grab the heel hook king himself. You can come here and grab Azamat, and now you've got 100 salary left on the table, but you have big favorite, decent sized favorite, a guaranteed winner here in the co-main event, and now you're just hoping for baby Mario to not get knocked out in the first round. That's probably what the DFS strategy guide is going to look like on KunithMMA.com. I'll show you what it looked like last week. This is what the website looks like for those of you that don't know. It's completely free to use and access everything that's on the site. I will say some people were telling me that the join now button wasn't working. Just try to pick up or open up the blog. It'll ask you to log in or sign in. You should be able to create an account that way. You don't need to hit join now. But if we look at the last week's DFS strategy guide under the blog section, come down here, bricked on Azamat Bekaev poorly, very poorly. That's on me. Charles Jourdain obviously did really well. Kyle Prepolek, for his price, you can't really ask for a better punt play performance, and he kind of got screwed by the ref and Drew Dober in that one. But Kyle Prepolek, he was a great cash game play. So this really would have worked if Bekoev showed up, but he didn't. He got pieced up. That's bad. And then I even ran it back with Bekoev. Oh no. As far as your tournament plays go, bad biscuits. Mike Malott was terrified of that fight. He looked awful. And next time out, the fade on Mike Malott now that he's ranked is going to be... And we came down here, grabbed Bruno Silva, and I even told you Matt Frivola and Kyle Nelson was going to be a slate deciding fight. And I mean, Kyle Nelson, it would have been if we had proper officiating. He knocked him out in the first round. I'm not eating that one. I feel like that was valid. But we put the DFS strategy guide on the site every week. So if you want the DFS strategy guide, as well as the official betting article, access to the groups as well, where you can talk DFS with other people, betting with other people, see any announcements that we'll make along the way, you'll find that on KunithMMA.com. That's linked in the description and in a pinned comment. Now we can get into building some tournament lineups or your GPPs, right, where you're trying to capture as much scoring upside as possible. And I want to talk a little bit about salary here, because we did this last week. Last week, I implored you to save some salary, leave salary on the table. One, because I thought the underdogs would do really well, but I also want you to be able to get different. A lot of people adopt the same kind of thinking that they do for NFL DFS, NBA DFS, MLB DFS, whatever it is. They adopt that same thinking into MMA DFS. It's not a team sport. It works differently. You can project where you think these guys are going to score, but the reality is Mizuki has just as high of a ability to score 100 DraftKings points than Ludovit Klein does, and they're at very different price points. So leaving salary on the table can be a viable strategy. And last week we posted about this on X. If you don't follow on X, go follow, because we post stuff all the time. There's stuff we don't post on YouTube. I made this post after UFC Vancouver. Quick DFS note: the optimal lineup would have used 47,600 salary. That's leaving 2,400 salary on the table. And last week I was challenging you to leave 700 salary on the table. Some of you did it, and I got screenshots and messages from people, and they were like, I have won more than I ever won before. I saw one guy, he put in like $5, won $5,000 by taking down a contest. Impressive stuff. And that wasn't because we had the perfect read on every fight or anything like that. It was just playing the game the way it's meant to be played. A fight that has a lot of live underdogs, start leaving salary on the table. Nobody was leaving 2,400 salary on the table. So if you left over $1,000, over 2,000 salary out there, you were going to springboard past a lot of people. So you can apply that logic to most cards. The reason why I bring that up, though, is because this doesn't feel like those kind of weeks. It feels like a very favorite heavy card. Like, I'll tell you, I think Umar wins. I think Amarim wins. Aspinall wins. Hamdi Abdelwahab wins. Maxim wins. Walter wins. I think Ikram might lose. I have Jailton Almeida winning. I have Mackenzie Dern winning. I like Nathaniel Wood. I like Ludovit Klein. I think that Rakic wins here. I think Haqparast wins here. So as far as value plays, like underdogs, I actually think are going to win. It's really just Rakic, Wood, Park. If those three win and they're the only underdogs that win, that would be great for us, because then we can come here to Mackenzie Dern, 9,300 left over. I don't know how you don't play Walter Walker this week at his price, and then you can come up here and grab anybody. I think there's a chance that Tom Aspinall just runs over Ciryl Gane in round one. It's really hard to get away from Tom Aspinall this week. I really don't have too many builds for you, despite having a 13 fight card, because that's pretty much how I would approach it. Now, I would say this would kind of be my base. I really do like Mackenzie Dern in this spot, Walter Walker, Tom Aspinall, and then you can come here and you can do whatever. Let's say you wanted to get a little crazy, play somebody like Mitch Raposo, Jun-Young Park, 8,700 left over per fighter. Come here to Haqparast, leave 600 salary on the table, I guess. But again, I don't love playing Haqparast. If anything, if I had a single entry lineup, I probably just again bet on Haqparast straight up and then play Quillan Salkilld, the 8,100. Don't see how you get away from Tom Aspinall. Let's say you, I know a lot of people out there like Tom Aspinall and Virna Jandiroba, right? So let me give you a look. Tom Aspinall, Virna Jandiroba. I feel like if you are in this camp, you're probably playing Quillan Salkilld as well. 8,300 left over. You might want Murzakanov, thinking that he's going to add to his knockout streak. And now you're coming down here and still trying to play some underdogs. I think Jun-Young Park is somebody people will look to. And then you'll come up here and obviously grab Walter Walker in this situation. I don't hate this either. If anything, if you sent me this lineup, said, Kunith, what do you think? I'd probably just go, and then I'd come down here, and then I'd grab Nathaniel Wood, and then I'd let it go. But not in love with the slate from a tournament standpoint. I do think that your cash games, there's a easy way to approach that, and I'll write about it on KunithMMA.com. Love bets this week. I'm hoping we can keep the streak alive, because we've had a pretty strong couple of weeks since our little hiatus that we took. So if you've made it to this point in the video, I really appreciate it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm, and I'll see you next week. Let's go.